Howard Stern believes rock is dead. Yungblud says it isn't. At Rockers to Doctors, we, or at least I, believe rock is not dead, and I'm going to prove it to you today. Welcome back to Rockers to Doctors, the only show where we examine new rock releases with the seriousness of a peer-reviewed journal. My name is Nova Starwick.
And I am Dorian Prescott.
Today's episode is about new music from three bands, Whiteshake, Temple Balls, and Wycked Angel. All three of these new releases share something very specific and very close to my heart. Every one of them carries a strong 1980s glam and melodic hard rock feel. Big hooks, big emotion, guitar-forward songs that are not afraid to take their time.
Listening to these tracks honestly feels like the present is finally caught up to the past. What we admire most is that these bands are making deliberate choices in a modern landscape that doesn't exactly reward patience, melody, or guitar solos. They're just doing it anyway.
I've requested permission to include short audio clips from today's tracks, and depending on where you're watching or listening, you may hear a brief clip, or you'll be directed to the links waiting for you in both the comments and the description.
Either way, we want you to listen actively because all three of these bands aren't just releasing songs. They're tapping into a sound, a feeling, a moment in rock history that a lot of us never stop missing.
Let's start with a name that instantly signals lineage in 3, 2, 1.
If you grew up on classic Whitesnake, or if Whitesnake was one of those bands you didn't fully appreciate until adulthood, Whiteshake immediately makes sense.
They began life as a tribute band, but what separates them from the sea of nostalgia acts is that they understand why Whitesnake worked. They aren't merely interested in capturing the volume of Whitesnake. They set their focus on the essence of the band. What makes Whitesnake Whitesnake? It's really exciting to hear this new music done exactly as it could have been done at that time. And I was really into Whitesnake then.
I've got the same take on Whiteshake and Whitesnake, both of them. What I loved about Whitesnake most, and what a lot of people don't realize until you really listen to them, is that Whitesnake had the blues. They were essentially a blues band playing 80s glam metal. They understood the power of dynamics. That is, the songs had breathing room, which made for great tension leading up to their explosive choruses. They set a pretty high bar, and Whiteshake aspires to meet and transcend it.
Fronted by David Redman, Whiteshake brings a level of vocal authority. Redman's voice is experienced, polished, and confident. Coverdale confident.
And now, Whiteshake has crossed the line that separates tribute from authorship. They're releasing original material, and that is always the real test.
It's really cool that a tribute band is breaking from the mold and expanding out into new territory, but still staying true to their influences. But the question becomes, can you write something that truly belongs in that world without sounding like a copy or a parody?
Let's drop about 20 seconds of Restless Heart right here.
Here's the thing about Restless Hearts. If you didn't already know that this was a new release, you could absolutely mistake it for a deep cut from an early to mid-1980s Whitesnake record on your first listen. They're breaking new ground to give us more of the exact sound we loved.
This is not an accident. The song nails the emotional DNA of that era. The pacing is patient, the verses breathe, and I stressed earlier, dynamics are important. The arrangement supports the vocals instead of competing with it, and when the chorus arrives, it feels true to form. It's inevitability, but it still comes off as surprising. That's surprising inevitability.
So it does what you expected, but with unique elements added.
Yep. If this is a proper homage to Whitesnake, they've nailed it. It has the same kind of groove, the same kind of bounce as Fool for Your Loving or Give Me All Your Loving. Even the guitar's tone, the dirtiness of the distortion, That has a John Sykes flavor.
Even the title feels era authentic. Restlessness has always been at the heart of melodic hard rock. Longing, movement, dissatisfaction, desire.
Redman definitely understands how deep the blues ran in Whitesnake's music. His voice isn't a carbon copy of Coverdale's, rather, it's dirtier, it growls, and it taps directly into Coverdale's emotional vocabulary without modern irony or any apology.
That's a really hard balance to strike. Sound too close, and you risk imitation. Drift too far, and you lose the soul of it. Restless Hearts threads that needle so well that it genuinely feels like it has always existed.
If Whiteshake continues down this path, this does not feel like a novelty or a one off experiment. It feels like the beginning of a real original chapter that just happens to sound like it came from rock and roll's most comfortable, familiar universe.
What this also tells us is that much of the time, tribute bands can sound better and tighter than the originals do at this stage of the game.
Well, if Greta Van Fleet can get respect by embracing their influences to the fullest, so can these folks.
From that first opening guitar whine to the lyric phrasing, it's unmistakable Whitesnake. This one makes me happy that Whitesnake lives on, even with David Coverdale's retirement.
This segment is about a band with an unforgettable name, Temple Balls.
Temple balls come from Finland, which, at this point, has an almost suspiciously high success rate in exporting heavy music. But what makes temple balls stand out is that they're not chasing heaviness for heaviness sake. They're channeling something very specific, that late 80s hard rock sweet spot where drive, melody, and attitude all mattered equally.
This band understands the fundamentals of effective composition. The song is built with dynamics, not just density, but where there is density, it's harder than titanium. There's a very clear respect here for the kind of hard rock that lived comfortably on both radio and arena stages. Specifically, but not exclusively, I hear Judas Priest. But I also hear, and hear me out, George Lynch, his too often overlooked band, The End Machine. They should tour together, Temple Balls and End Machine. My point is, Temple Balls uses their influences as a framework and builds out a unique sound from there.
And I'll be honest, this single sent me back into their catalog because when a band gets this balance right, it's usually not an accident. You start hearing the through line and notice how the band has developed and found their sound. That awesomeness comes through clearly in their latest single.
You'll find the link in the comments and description, and I strongly suggest watching the lyric video. Tokyo Love is a true headbanger.
This song is a lot of things. I think it does everything from every 80s rock classic. It's low with a frontman growl to soaring heights down to a punchy, catchy chorus that gets stuck in your head. I can't help but to sing to it. This song would be at home in any 80s classic movie for an arcade scene or in a cyberpunk video game.
Yes, they have supercharged the cyberpunk imagery, the particular atmosphere, an atmosphere with an unmistakably 80s hard rock pulse underneath it.
The neon lit Tokyo visuals feel modern, but the song remains loyal to its apparent influences.
Like I said, Judas Priest and George Lynch, but with very European sounding keyboards.
Musically, this track knows how to strut without sprinting. The melody carries the listener, the swagger does the real work, and the arrangement gives everything room to breathe. On this channel, we like songs that know when to breathe and when to scream.
The song's rhythm, its searing guitars give the listener a sense of momentum. Couple that with a motion centric music video, and you'll feel like you're soaring with them.
And honestly, that's exactly why this one stuck with me.
Our final band today is also the newest to the conversation, and in some ways, the most time travel heavy of the three.
Wycked Angel is emerging with a very clear mission statement. This is straight ahead, melodic hard rock that feels like it walked directly out of the 1980s and into the present day, and grabbed a handful of the late 90s on the way out. No updates for modern trends, no ironic distance, no genre tourism, just full commitment embrace of the sound, the structure, and the energy that defined an era.
What stands out immediately is how intentional the rollout has been. Instead of tossing out a single track and hoping it sticks, Wicked Angel has released multiple songs in close succession, each one reinforcing the same identity. That's very old school.
First came Tonight, now we have Going for the One, complete with a new video that deepens that impression. But before we go further into the music, I want to talk a little bit about this band. I really like them and cannot wait for their full album to drop.
So the story begins with guitarist Bache, armed with a guitar, a vision, and set out to form a band that would feel like stepping into a smoky club in the Sunset Strip in 1987, but with a modern punch.
His vision became reality when he heard JJ belting out a rock anthem during karaoke. Her voice was pure fire, soaring, gritty, and utterly magnetic. That night, she went from bar staff to lead vocalist of Wycked Angel. It's like a modern day rock Cinderella story.
Ade, a powerhouse drummer, caught wind of the early demos and jumped in without hesitation. His thunderous rhythms and production skills became a defining part of the band's raw yet polished sound.
On bass, Chris Panic brought the glue, tight, melodic lines that anchor the band's wall of sound. If you heard our holiday showdown, you know how I feel about the wall of sound. His steady presence and experience balance the band's high voltage energy.
To round it out, Eugen, who plays guitar in tonight's video, has mixed and mastered the upcoming album called Intensifier, which is due to be released this year.
The video for tonight is like a treasure trove of 80s memorabilia. Seriously, every time I watch it, I catch something else. It was recorded at Star Wars Band, which translates to Star Wars Cinema in Gothenburg, Sweden.
The band knows a guy who owns the place. He made the place Star Wars themed and went completely overboard with it. Almost every piece of that cinema he made himself by 3D printing and building Star Wars props from old metal scrap and whatever else he could find.
Now that you've heard a little about the video, we're going to play a short clip of Tonight right here. Tonight feels like a classic introduction in the most literal sense. Big chorus, clean structure. It reminds me of Poison's Fallen Angel and Lita's Kiss Me Deadly, plus a bit of Survivor with a pop pump infusion of updated energy.
I agree with that 100%. But I'm a person who has a compulsive need to deconstruct songs, to zoom in on the architecture and uncover influences. And this one is wild. By the looks of the band, you'd be convinced we're in the 1980s. We've got a bassist sporting an Iron Maiden t shirt. He even does that classic Steve Harris posture. The drummer is wearing a sweet shirt. Either way, we're giving the impression that we're in the 80s, but here's the part where their band might want to take me out into the back alley if they ever meet me. I hear a generous portion of pop punk and emo. To my ears, that's a good thing because I love that era of music. The song's chord structure and melody remind me of bands like Yellow Card and All American Rejects. Again, I see that as a compliment. The music is serious but uplifting.
It makes me feel the happiness of getting out from everything that's holding you down and having a moment of total freedom from everything. It's currently my new favorite song. This is the one I'd use to pump myself up or to play before going out.
Let's drop a short clip of Going for the One right here.
Tonight may have started this journey for me, but Going for the One is continuing it. I am so excited to hear the rest of the album when it's released. This one has less of an emotional kick for me, but I still feel it.
Absolutely.
It's full of yearning, desire, and drive. And it makes good use of a minor key in that the music is still highly uplifting. It's got a blistering guitar solo reminiscent of that Van Halen style everyone wanted to emulate in the 80s. I love it. The song uses quiet interludes to good effect, and that clean guitar riff drives it while JJ's voice soars above it all. Everyone has a moment to shine in this song.
No one falls into the shadows in this band.
This track leans even harder into forward motion and drive. It feels built for the stage. And what really sells the 80s connection here is the video. It does more than promote the song. It gives a peek into the making of it, and that process feels very old school. You see a band working through a song, shaping it, committing to it, not just uploading a finished product and moving on.
Yes, I love their choice to go meta on this. Meta as in showing your hands or letting the viewers look behind the scenes.
For a band just getting started, this kind of clarity and cohesion is rare. And if you're someone who misses the sound and spirit of 1980s hard rock, Wycked Angel feels like a direct line back into it.
What I keep coming back to with all three of these releases is how intentional they feel.
Whiteshake sounds like a song you swear you already owned on cassette. Temple Balls feel like the version of hard rock that once ruled both radio and arenas. Wycked Angel feels like a band who've embraced their influences in order to make their own.
None of this music is chasing the moment, but nor is it flipping off 2026. I am, but that's not what I mean. They're reaching backward, pulling something forward, and reminding us why this sound worked in the first place.
And maybe that's the point. Sometimes progress isn't about reinvention. Sometimes it's about remembering what we loved and doing it well on purpose. All the links to these bands and songs are in the comments and the description. Go listen. If one of these tracks makes you double check the release date, I want to hear about it.
As always, this has been Rockers to Doctors. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more rock news, hit up the subscribe button. Check us out at Instagram, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, YouTube, and Spotify.
So, who's right? Youngblood and I, or Howard Stern and Dorian? Let us know in the comments. And as always, this has been Rockers to Doctors, headbanging with a hypothesis.